What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video, and I'm sure you can already tell by the title of the video what we are going to be doing. I am going to be ranking all 4 seasons of Stranger Things from my least favorite to my favorite. I have just finished my rewatch of all 4 seasons in preparation for Season 5, dropping in 5 days. Very, very excited. So without further ado, let's start the ranking. Alright, so coming in last place, in 4th place, we have Stranger Things 3. Now, Stranger Things 3 has been my least favorite season for a very long time. I really do think it is the most flawed season. I think the writing is the weakest and the laziest. And I think a lot of the plot lines and storylines in this season are some of the lamest they've ever been. Before I get into the things that I disliked, though, I'm going to start off with the things that I liked. I think where this season really shines is in the tone and the atmosphere this season. It's a very fun season. You know, a lot of bright colors, great locations like Starcourt Mall, you know, the swim club, you know, fun fair, like all these really cool, fun locations, very summer vibes, very bright, colorful, again, fireworks, it's 4th of July, you know, it's summer, it's just a fun vibe for a season, you know, it's a great setting, you know, Hawkins feels very fun, it feels like everybody's out, you know, it was a very fun, you know, a good setting and just atmosphere. It was a perfect, you know, setting for this season. So I really liked that. I very much so enjoyed the ending of this season. I think this season's got one of the strongest wrap-ups of any season. You know, the Hopper dying thing, you know, was shocking at the time before we realized he wasn't dead. Billy getting killed by the physical form Mind Flayer was nuts, and them throwing fireworks at it to kill it. It went really well with the theme of the season. So that was really cool. Speaking of the physical form Mind Flayer, thought he looked awesome. CGI looked great this season. You know, he was awesome presence, this big thing. You know, I really liked that Billy was kind of the main villain for most of the season until the physical form Mind Flayer fully became a thing at the end of the season. I really enjoyed him. You know, he had so many great scenes with Eleven. Obviously, the fight at the swim club where Eleven and him are just going at it and beating the shit out of each other was awesome. Some great stuff there. The acting from Dacre Montgomery is incredible there. Really enjoyed that. I thought the new characters this season was pretty good. Alexei being the main one. I thought he was very fun, comic relief. Robin really being the main one. Robin is now one of my favorite characters in the show, top 3. She is a fantastic character. Very happy that they added her. Maya Hawke is just incredible in the role, and she instantly becomes a fan favorite, I think, and she's just great. She's got great chemistry with Steve and Dustin, and she just really felt like she just jumped right into it, you know? She didn't have any lag time where we needed to get to know her. Her personality was just so, I guess it was just so attractive. You're just instantly, like, every time she's on screen, you're looking at her, right? So, love Robin. And, of course, we had the Terminator knockoff, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. It's definitely cool. He's a cool villain. You know, he's a Russian, and he's like the Terminator, but at the same time, it's a little goofy. But still thought that was pretty cool. And I think my last overall positive with this season is just sequences. This season's got some great sequences. Again, the whole Starcourt Mall sequence at the end, the whole Russian sequence in the base under Starcourt Mall. The sequence at the house where Hopper and Joyce break in and they find Alexei, you know, some really, really good sequences this season. Not to say that the other seasons don't have great sequences, but I think they really stood out this season. Oh, and the comedy. I forgot to mention this. The comedy this season was top tier peak, especially between Joyce and Hopper. They are fucking hysterical this season. So many funny scenes like Drive, Joyce, Drive. When he's beating up the mayor in his office, it's hysterical. Just so many funny, you know, interactions and arguments. And the comedy this season is by far the best. But unfortunately, like I said, there was a lot of negatives this season. I think my main issue with season 3 is the teenage politics. There is so much. This season focuses so much on teenage politics. This whole love triangle between Eleven, Max, and Mike, it makes them by far the most unlikable characters in the show. They are so unlikable, and Mike still hasn't recovered from this because they fucking carried it over to season 4. Oh my god, this season ruined their characters. The entire season, I did not like them. I didn't like them at all this season. They're just so unlikable. They're annoying, young, angsty teenagers constantly arguing. They're stupid and naive. And Max, it's really Max and Mike. 11's annoying because of how naive she is, but for Max and Mike, man, they're just both wanting to control this girl, and they're both just so like, oh, I'm right, no, you're wrong. Oh, I'm right, no, you're wrong. It's just like, ugh, they're so unlikable. The whole season, man, the whole season, they're bickering over this girl. It's just ridiculous. They're very fucking annoying, and it ruins the season. It really does. It really does ruin the season. Sorry about the lighting. My thing went off. But yeah, they're just, oh my God, they're just so damn annoying. And again, it just doesn't stop. That's my point. It just keeps going and going and going and going. The arguing between Nancy and Jonathan, also very fucking annoying. And it lasts most of the season. They're just nonstop bickering and bickering and bickering. Not to mention their plotline in the beginning, where they're taking pictures of rats and visiting old lady Driscoll every 5 seconds, is boring with a capital B. Holy shit, it's boring. It is so boring, and it lasts the first half of the season, and it's just so boring. The bickering between Hopper and Joyce, while yes, sometimes, like I said, funny, also gets very, very tiring, especially by the end of the damn season. Very annoying. Another very boring plot line. They spend like the first 2 episodes fucking trying to talk to Dustin's imaginary girlfriend, or who at least we think is imaginary. Very boring plot line. The whole thing with the rats melting and the humans melting to make the physical form Mind Flayer, didn't like that. Also very boring. There's just so many really bad plot lines in this. The main motive for the Mind Flayer is just really, it's nothing creative. He just wants to kill 11 this season. That's legit just it. He just wants to kill 11. And I feel like they could have come up with something more creative. Not to mention, this season feels like such a spin-off. They don't go into the Upside Down once this season. Not once. Not a single time do they barely even mention it. It just feels like so separated from all the other seasons. It really feels like its own thing. And which isn't always a bad thing, but in this scenario, it is very much so a bad thing to me. Because it just feels disconnected. It really does. And again, it just feels like they're so much more worried about arguing and teenage politics than they actually are about the problem at hand, you know? And then you got the whole thing where the Flayed are eating fucking chemicals and bleach and shit, which I thought was stupid. So yeah, man, this season had a lot of issues, just a lot of issues. A lot that made it very unlikable and just hard to watch at times, really. And which is unfortunate because, again, this season has a lot of great stuff going for it. It's still a great season. You know, I still give it like an 8 out of 10. I still love to rewatch it. But it really is just the weakest of all 4 seasons. Coming in at number 3, now this is a huge change. This has just happened recently now that I've rewatched season 4. I have season 4. Again, like typically I have season 2 at this spot. But for me, man, it's got to be season 4. I love season 4 so much. It's a 9.5 out of 10 season for me. So damn much. There's so much to love about this season, and I'm going to get into it. It is just such a good and well-written season. It is just it's fun. It's the whole package. So, first off, everybody's storylines in this are so interesting. From 11's trying to learn her past and her memories, to, you know, Mike, Argyle, Will, and Jonathan, who are traveling across country to try and get to all these places to try and find 11. From the Hawkins kids like Nancy, Steve, Robin, Max, Dustin, and Lucas, and Eddie. Their story is also very good. You know, they're the ones who are directly battling Vecna because he's cursed Max. This season also has its own flavor to it, its own new feel, a new vibe. It's much darker. It feels much scarier. Hawkins feels scarier and more real. Everything in this season felt so much more real. Our new villain, Vecna, is the best villain in the franchise, pretty much, in my opinion. You know, it's finally, again, it's kind of like what Billy was in season 3, except on a much bigger scale. The visuals this season, the CGI is incredible. Like 11 being de-aged, you know, the people's bodies and bones breaking, and, you know, seeing the big Mind Flayer again at the end. It's just, there was so much cool visual, you know, effects. You know, Dimension X, when we see that, looks great. So a lot of great, really cool visuals. The new characters are great. Eddie, Argyle, some of the best characters in the show, especially Eddie. We got Dr. Owens back, and Brenner came back, and which is cool because we all pretty much knew Brenner was probably still alive and that they were saving him for a later season. So that was all really, really cool. And this season, like I said, it just feels so different, but in a good way. It feels different, but connected at the same time. And, we got to see all these new character pairings, which was great as well. Eddie and Steve, and then, Steve and Nancy are finally back together. Nancy and Robin, which was cool. You got to finally see them. We get to learn, the history of the Creels and the Creel house and how Henry ties into that and how that ties into 11. Even the final fight between 11 and him. It's just everything this season was top tier great. The whole Russian storyline, I was leaving that out. How Hopper has to try and break out of the prison, and how Joyce and Murray are after and up in Russia to go find him, and they break him out, and they're fighting the Demogorgon there at the prison. So much cool stuff. Again, this whole season is just like a full package. Then you got the Jason storyline. He's going nuts trying to chase down Eddie. And it just feels like all these different storylines all come together so seamlessly, and none of it feels overdone. It doesn't feel overstuffed. It doesn't feel too much. It just works. My issues with this season, though, I think my biggest issue is kind of the first few episodes. The season kind of takes some time to kick into high gear. It just it starts a little slow. The stuff with 11 where they're trying to convince us that she's like this psycho who killed all these people, and everybody's bullying her, and that at any moment you think she's gonna snap, and then she hits Stacy with the thing. The whole bullying thing I didn't like, because people are cruel. They are, but not that many people for that long or that cruel. It was just senseless abuse. It was just absolute verbal and mental abuse towards 11, and not a single person stood up and said a thing. Really didn't like that. Just felt unrealistic. And the whole thing where they're trying to convince us like that she's this evil person and she killed all these kids at Hawkins lab. I wasn't going for that either. But aside from that, though, this season is really just top tier. And the only reason I don't have it at number 2 is because I do prefer the tone and the vibe of season 2 a little more than season 4, which gets me to my next one on the list. Coming in at number 2, we have season 2. I know this is most people's least favorite season. I don't know why. I really think this season is the full package. Once again, we got all 4 of our main kids back together again. We finally actually have Will in the season. He's not just stuck in the Upside Down the entire time. We got Hopper. He's on his little own adventure, which, he's looking into these pumpkins that are rotting. Yes, it wasn't the most interesting storyline, but what it leads into, where he finds the tunnels under Hawkins, that's where it gets interesting. We have Dustin and Lucas. They're off, trying to be flirtatious with Max, our brand new character for the season, Max and Billy. Bob Newby, another great new character. The new characters of the season are by far the best we've ever gotten. I love Eddie and Argyle in season 4, but season 2 takes the cake with new characters. We get Dr. Owens as well. There's so many brand new characters. In scale, it's a huge step up from the first season. The CGI is better. The big fucking mind flare looks awesome. The effects for that look incredibly scary as hell. It's a little darker in tone than the first season. It's just awesome, dude. The Halloween vibes, more callbacks to the 80s. They're wearing the Ghostbusters outfits, and, Will ends up getting possessed by the mind flare, and then, they spend time trying to get it out of him. And then obviously we have the infamous 11. She goes off to Chicago in episode 7. I know everybody and their mother hates that episode. I don't. I love that episode. It feels shoehorned in, I'll give you that. But to say that it's a bad episode in any way, to me, is just, I disagree with it. I enjoy it. I don't get bored with it. I have fun with it. I like that it tells us that there's more out there like 11. It's not just her. Obviously, later on, we found out they're all dead, but aside from 8. And it was cool that we get to see that interaction, and they're trying to kind of helping each other, and 8's helping 11 with her powers, and, trying to get over Papa or whatever. So I liked it, and I think it tied in well with the ending. The ending of season 2. She realizes and she learns how to channel her, her anger to make her stronger, which ultimately helps her in defeating the Mind Flayer. I don't think it was a completely pointless episode. Shoehorned in, yes, but I still liked it, and I like how they kept us separate. They kept Mike and 11 separate this whole season, because when they finally meet again at the end, the payoff is just so good. And it hits so hard when they finally run back into each other, and he finds out she's still alive, and it's an awesome scene. I love it very, very much. I really liked the Demodogs this season as well. I thought they were not as intimidating as the Demogorgon in the first season, but I think it was a natural way to go. There's more of them, and we know they grow into the Demogorgon, so it shows us kind of their evolution and everything. I thought that was pretty cool. Again, like I said, I really love the inclusion of Dr. Owens in this. Yeah, I love how they establish him as, we don't know if we can trust him at first, but then by the end, we realize he's actually a pretty good dude and that he can be trusted. So I liked that. And I love the daughter and father relationship between Hopper and 11. Very heavily inspired by The Last of Us. Love that. You guys know I love The Last of Us. And the relationship feels so much like Joel and Ellie's. It's this older, roughed up, kind of miserable guy who lost his daughter tragically, and and then they find a new surrogate daughter in a way, and that daughter leads them to be happy again, and it finds their happiness that's been gone for so long. So I really, really did enjoy that storyline. I liked seeing them have that father-daughter relationship. Now, for my only complaints, really, of this season, like I said, I felt like Episode 7, yes, was a little ham-fisted. It kind of came out of nowhere. It was just really random. And my second really biggest issue is I feel like Mike had nothing to do this season. It just felt like he was kind of there. Every scene he's in, he's just kind of there. He doesn't really have any important objective, aside from just being there. When Will's in the hospital, he's just there. He's not doing anything. He's just sitting there. When they're out trick-or-treating, he's just kind of there. He's like bitching and moaning to Will, and he's not doing anything. He's just there. So that kind of angered me a little bit, because I do really like Mike. He's one of my favorite characters, and the fact that he's just kind of just there the whole season didn't really work for me. But aside from that, man, this was a perfect season. I love it. It's just a great season. And we move on to number 1 now. All right, and coming in at number 1, of course, we have Stranger Things 1. A perfect season. I do not have a single complaint about this season. It is, for real, very perfect. Everything. The small town vibe of Hawkins is just great. The scary-ass Demogorgon is creepy as all hell. The whole government plot line with Brenner and how they're hunting down 11. Hopper is looking for Will, but he mistakenly is looking for 11, actually. 11 bumps into Mike and the 4 kids. Their comedy is great. Just their friendship is fantastic. Hopper is a badass in this season, dude. And just how they all the storylines blend and connect at the end. It's just perfect, dude. You got Steve and Nancy's story, which also ties in with Jonathan's story. They're and then you got Barb in there, where she, Nancy's looking for Barb and she feels all guilty, and it just all blends perfectly. And you get this horror, sci-fi, drama, action, comedy season of television. It's just a full package, and it works on every level. There isn't an ounce of bad writing in there. There isn't an ounce of just laziness. It's all put together with such heart and such care, and it's just such a good season. And in my opinion, it's one of the greatest seasons of television of all time. And it really is one of the greatest. Like, it's just such a good, show. It's just so good. It really is one of the greatest seasons of TV ever. And I think Stranger Things will go down as one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Especially if they really, really stick the landing with season 5. But yeah, man, season 1, you just can't beat it. Again, one part that I really like about season 1 that is in the other seasons but not as strong is the investigation aspect. Hopper is a full-blown investigator in this. He is looking for Will. You know, he knows the government is lying to him, and he is investigating. And how he uncovers all these clues and pieces to the puzzle that really leads to the big picture as to what the hell's going on is so damn satisfying when it all comes together at the end. And it's so interesting. You don't want to stop watching because you love seeing this guy who's like, fuck you talking about? You know, the kid's going missing. He probably ran away with his dad too. Holy shit, the government is covering up all this shit and there's an alternate dimension underneath us. It's just nuts. And you know, and the ending is so heartbreaking, and his story with his daughter, and you know, how they find Will finally and they bring him back, and it's just, it's the perfect season of television. And it very well could be my favorite season of television ever. So, yeah, that is my ranking of all 4 seasons of Stranger Things. Once season 5 is fully out, I will probably make another video updating the ranking. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.